A long, long time ago, in the land of Israel, there was a great battle about to happen. The Israelite army, led by King Saul, was facing a dangerous enemy, the Philistines. But the Israelites were afraid, not because of the whole army, but because of one man, a giant named Goliath. Goliath was taller than any man they had ever seen. He wore heavy armor that shined in the sun, and he carried a massive spear. Every day for 40 days, he came out to the battlefield and shouted, "Who among you is brave enough to fight me? If you defeat me, the Philistines will serve Israel. But if I win, then you will be our slaves." The Israelite soldiers looked at each other, trembling. No one dared to fight the giant. He was too big, too strong, and too dangerous. Not far away, in a small village, lived a young shepherd boy named David. He had 7 older brothers, and 3 of them were already fighting in King Saul's army. David was too young to be a soldier, but he helped take care of his family's sheep. One day, David's father, Jesse, called him and said, "David, take this bread and cheese to your brothers at the battlefield. See how they are doing and bring me news of the war." David was excited. He packed up the food and rushed to the battlefield. When he arrived, he saw the soldiers whispering and looking afraid. He asked one of them, "Why is everyone so scared?" A soldier pointed toward Goliath, who was standing in the valley, shouting, "Is there no one in all of Israel brave enough to fight me?" David's eyes widened. Why is no one standing up to him? He wondered. He listened as the soldiers told him that King Saul had promised a great reward to anyone who could defeat Goliath. The king would give the victor riches and even allow him to marry his daughter. But David wasn't thinking about riches or rewards. He was thinking about how God was bigger and stronger than any giant. "Why are you all afraid?" David asked. "Goliath is just a man, but we have the Lord on our side." David's brothers overheard him talking and got angry. "David, what are you doing here? You should be watching the sheep, not talking about battles." But David ignored them. He went straight to King Saul and said, "I will fight Goliath." Saul looked at David and laughed. "You are just a boy. How can you fight a giant?" David stood tall. "I have fought lions and bears while protecting my father's sheep. God kept me safe then, and he will keep me safe now." Saul saw the determination in David's eyes. He sighed and said, "If you are sure, then may the Lord be with you." The king tried to give David his armor, but it was too big and heavy. Instead, David chose 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream and put them in his sling. With only that and his faith in God, he walked toward the battlefield. When Goliath saw David, he laughed loudly. "They send a child to fight me? This is an insult. Come here, little boy, and I will crush you." But David was not afraid. He shouted back, "You come with a sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord. He will give me victory." David put a stone in his sling and swung it over his head. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The stone flew through the air and hit Goliath right in the forehead. Thud. Goliath wobbled, then fell face down to the ground. The Philistine army gasped in shock. The Israelites stood still for a moment. Then they cheered loudly. Their enemy's strongest warrior had been defeated by a boy with a slingshot. David ran up to Goliath and made sure he was truly defeated. The Philistines, now terrified, ran away in fear, and the Israelites won the battle. When King Saul saw what had happened, he called David and said, "You are truly brave. Today you have saved Israel." From that day on, David became known as the boy who defeated the giant, and he later became one of the greatest kings in Israel's history. But the real lesson in this story is that David didn't win because he was the strongest. He won because he had faith in God. No matter how big your problems are, always remember, with God, you are never too small to do great things.